joined by Congressman Adam Smith, Democrat from Washington, ranking member on the House Armed Services Committee. I know it would pain you, Congressman, to say that this administration had a massive success, but I think killing the Ayatollah and beginning to ferment regime change in Iran is unquestionably a good thing for the world. Would you agree?
No, yeah, no, it wouldn't pain me at all to say they've had a massive success. I will point out that the killing of the Ayatollah doesn't change the regime in Iran. So I'm going to hold out until they have that massive success to go ahead and celebrate it. But yes, if there is a massive success, certainly. Look, I hope this works. I hope the Iranian regime goes away and the Iranian people rise up and build a better country. I'm just considerably concerned that that's not going to happen.
So this is from Michael Doran, who's had some great reporting on both the Israeli and the American side of this. A source with intimate knowledge of the joint American-Israeli plan informs me that plans for the day after have been long in the works. Chances are good, he said, that when all the guns fall silent, a unified coalition ready to take the country in a new direction will emerge. My reporting shows that the past 7 weeks, when they were planning the air campaign, developing the intelligence for that, there was also a lot of effort put in to foment and to build a network for this moment inside of Iran by both the Mossad and the CIA. You don't think that that could be successful?
It's possible, but look, there are two big impediments here. First of all, you have to change the regime. And basically, Iran in the last couple of decades has changed a lot. The IRGC, the military wing of the Islamic Republic, is really more in control than the Ayatollah was. They have the guns, they have the power. There's some 200,000 people in the IRGC. Iran has, I think, roughly a million people in a militia. They have the guns and they have the power. Yeah. So, so the question is, how do you overcome that? A bombing campaign, an air campaign is not going to overcome that. Mm-hmm. You have to count, I guess, on some of those 1.2 million people turning on the regime. I don't see much evidence of that. And then second, even if you're successful in that, I don't think that having a couple CIA and Mossad operations within Iran is necessarily going to build a cohesive and coherent opposition. There's a lot of different factions within Iran that oppose this regime. So those two steps are very challenging.
They are indeed, although I would say that we've heard these warnings all the time. We heard them after Midnight Hammer. This is good, but there could be something worse that comes. Turns out it worked out pretty well. Same with taking out Hamas. Same with taking out Hezbollah. The warnings just haven't come true. Let me ask you this.
Well,
go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
Let me ask you this. Many in your party have been losing their minds today on cable news about how President Trump didn't get a war powers authorization and the like. You have not done that on this program, and I'm wondering if it's because you realize how silly they sound when there's American service members flying over Iran to sound like they're giving quarter to the Revolutionary Guard.
Whole bunch of different pieces to this. First of all, to say that somebody claiming that the president of the United States should follow the Constitution and come to Congress and ask for authorization to start a war, which this is, Leila, I don't think you would dispute this is a war. I don't think we've ever come closer to having a clear definition of a war without congressional approval. So it's sort of denigrating. Say, well, we're losing our minds. We're insisting on this pesky thing, the Constitution, and Congress actually playing a role like it's supposed to. I think these are legitimate concerns that should be expressed. Should a president of the United States be able to launch?
You realize it kind of sounds silly right now, though, right?
I beg your pardon?
You don't think it sounds a little silly right now?
To say that the president should follow the Constitution? I don't think that ever.
We'll put that aside. Silly. Fair enough. We'll put that aside for 1 second. Maybe you'll agree with me that the people in the progressive movement, and there are now a lot of them, and there are now progressive organizations calling for protests that effectively are in defense of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard and saying...
Look, so let me help you out here. Let me help you out here.
Okay.
I do not disagree that there are elements within the progressive movement that have decided that protest and screaming at people that they disagree with is a legitimate approach. And I think that's a huge problem. Where I sit, right outside my front door, they show up at my house on a routine basis because they don't think that I've done enough to stop war and oppose Israel. I'm battling with the Bellevue Police Department as we speak to try to get these people arrested. So you will not get an argument from me that there are certainly people within the progressive movement that are too extreme in that regard. No doubt about that. But that's not the same as saying that.
Would you call them un-American?
I beg your pardon?
Sorry. Would you call them un-American?
I just, insults are not really my milieu, if you will. I prefer to say what
I don't know what milieu means, but it's 10 o'clock. I've been up since 7 a.m. So
sorry,
I'll look it up
where
tomorrow.
I like to go. How is that? I don't like to say, I know you are, but what am I? Okay, I don't really like to use sort of this, well, you're un-American. You're a communist. Right. I'll just go ahead and say that I think it undermines our representative democracy if you seem to think that you should be able to show up and scream at people every time something happens that you don't like. I think that's a problem. All right. But however, I think saying to the president, okay, you've launched a war, so American troops are at risk. Therefore, no matter what that war is, no matter what you did, we have to blindly support it. And we can't say anything opposed to it because, yeah, American troops are at risk because of this.
Well, and they're at risk right now. And I am with you that this is a war. I tend to think it's going to work out pretty well. You have questions about it. Come back and talk to us about it in a couple of days, Congressman. It's good to see you, sir.